do you feel you could go into a job that provides sort of not much passion, not much worth in it? Could you, with the mental health state that you've got now, find happiness within it and just go and do your best with whatever position you've got?
Again, situational. So if I needed to, so if I had to, yeah. But out of choice, no. So it goes back to Viktor Frankl at Auschwitz. So again, The Man's Search for Meaning, the book. So if you look at that, and again, having visited Auschwitz, like the most awful place, the most amazing / awful place I've ever visited in my entire life. You then look about it, again, the search for meaning. So they were finding meaning in the mundane and doing all that stuff, and that's what was keeping them alive. Welcome to the Prime Life Project podcast, a place to help you unlock your full potential, both mentally and physically, to become the best version of you. Welcome back to an episode of the Prime Life Project podcast. I'm your host, Daniel James, and I'm joined once again by Mr. Mikey Markham. How the devil are we?
I'm all right, mate. I'm tired today.
Mate, I'm very tired again as well. It's been one of them weeks, and I've just, before we started, obviously, I've been out all day. So on Tuesday, what have I done? Tuesday I spoke at a big conferencey thing to basically talk about the impact of having with young people. Then spoke to our friend Philip. That
Mutual friend.
Was just like a energy draining in a good way.
Mind boggler,
yeah, we'll go with that. And then what did I do today? Then I've been at school this morning.
Pupil referral
unit. And then I've then been talking to a recruitment company this afternoon. So it's been non-stop, but I love it. And that's the thing, when you're not used to being all, I'm used to like doing like 2 things a week, and then actually every day this week, so on Thursday now, every single day this week I've been doing something. I feel tired, but in a very good way. Does
it suit you, that energy then? I call it like that creative carnage.
Oh, I love it.
So
for me, it's not carnage, it's all for me, it's organised. It's very, very organised. And this is something interesting that, again, Philip spoke about. Because whenever I talk, I'm drained afterwards. Like, it literally, I could talk to all these people, I can't remember what I've said, and then if you give me a pillow, I'd sleep on the floor. And then he basically turned around to me and said, you're not using the energy in the room. He says, you're giving all your energy, and he says, but you need to remember that you get energy back.
Oh, that's
so I was like, that's really, So I was like, that's really, really interesting. He says, the reason why I'm so tired is because you're not actually taking the energy from the room.
Did he sort of go on to talk about how you actually utilise and use that?
No, I feel like he left me hanging on that one. So I asked him the question.
You've got to pay for that.
I asked him the question. I was just like, oh, God. So, but again, that was interesting. So like I said, it's been a good week, very, very. But like I said, we're doing the pod decks again this week because that went down really, really well last week.
I really enjoyed it.
You had a few people like message and say that it actually went down quite well, and Katie enjoyed it as well, which is, again, since she's the person that is like my truth teller.
I liked her comment today. She was like, I even watched the whole episode.
Yeah, there we go. Yeah. What she said, I was like, so you mean you don't normally watch the whole episode? It's like, but again, for me, I normally get her to listen to it. She normally listens to it when she's working, so like goes back and forth.
I listened to it all back, to be fair, man, and I really enjoyed sort of where it went. It's very fluid.
Yeah, I was listening to the episodes back, and I said with Katie, she tends to, obviously, like when we're on the radio on Thursday, she listens to that live, and then bless her, when she goes into work, she does actually listen to the podcast. So I think when she said listen to it, I think she actually sat in one go and listened to it all normally, which is interesting, because like I said, I didn't realise that a lot of people kind of listen to the podcast in like stages. So listen to 30 minutes here and then another 30 minutes, or 20 minutes, which again, how people sort of digest it, which is awesome either way. But I think the pod decks, it just allowed people to get more out of
it was unexpected, and that's the same for the audience. They don't know what's coming, we don't know what's coming, and it's got that energy about it, which is quite exciting for people, I think.
It's like when we're on the radio though, like we don't know the topic that we're talking about.
Yeah.
And then it kind of actually, they're the best ones, because Aaron, the host, kind of said to us, do you want to know the topics? And I kind of like posed to him that actually it's better when we don't know, because it keeps it authentic. We can't script an answer. And I think with this as well, we never normally script anything anyway, but before we start, we've both got an agreement. This is what we're talking about today. So you can steer the conversation so we get to that end. But actually, when we do these, it's 100%, we have no idea where we're going with it.
On radio, we went back to the old way of let's not know, because it was quite contrived. I felt like all our answers were a little bit prepped and ready. And now I do really enjoy that. Let's just go. Let's roll with it.
I think it means you're then talking from the heart a bit as well.
Yes.
I think that you can't script it. And
I suppose it is like if you're having an argument with a friend or a partner or whatever it is, and you've gone in with this preloaded idea, it never goes the way you want it to go, because they're also ready with their script, and then it is really contrived. But if you just go in going, I feel this energy, I feel uncomfortability, but I'm not going to build up an answer in my head of what I want, but just go in with that, I want something out of it, I don't know where it's going to go, that'll allow the free flow to happen.
But I do that anyway. Do you know when I'm going into like schools to talk? Like for example, say the pupil referral unit. First pupil referral unit I've been to, didn't have any expectations, didn't really look into the school. I just kind of knew this is what I'm going to be dealing with. and then off you go. And then straight away, you don't have a pre-built idea of the students, the building, and everything like that. You're just going in, you can be natural. Again, same with the recruitment company I went into. Did a bit of research, but that literally 5 minutes. Oh, that's interesting. Cool. And that was it. So when you go in there, you can kind of judge the energy and go from that. And it sounds very bizarre for people that aren't used to looking at the energy, but you can just feel the room. Yeah. And then you can sort of, rather than going in with, this is what I need to talk about, this is how I need to, especially when it comes to talking with the pupils, like I've got these workshops to go in there with. If I'm so regimented on that, you don't get the answers. Like you don't get the students get what they're looking for.
Off the cuff stuff is sometimes where the most important things.
And I always say to the students, listen, I've got this kind of stuff I want to talk about. Because I did 2 workshops back to back with the same group. I was like, in the morning, I'm going to give you some this is me kind of not talking at you, but I'm going to give you a lot of information I think is relevant. Then in the second part of this, we're going to go wherever it goes. I've got a rough idea, but you'd be interactive with me. We take them wherever we're going, and that's what it is. Then we're talking about, I give them options. Do you want to talk about habits or do you want to talk about mindset shifts? And they're like, oh, mindset shifts. Okay, cool. And then, can we go talk about habits? So they're going back and forth with it, and it makes it so free. Rather than like, no, we've got to do this. You then lose the room. Because
those particular students don't suit that regimented way of life as they've showcased throughout their lives. You know, if it's authority and being told what to do and now it's this and that regime, they push away from it massively. So I bet they really like that sort of, we're going in a direction, but we can create it and carve it out together.
Because the only part I needed to get out of at the start, and this is what I was saying to the teachers there, is that they need to buy into me.
Yes.
The first part of it is them buying into me, and the second part is I start to break things down. And this, when I spoke on the Tuesday about the impact I'm having with the kids, I was speaking to all these people that do make sort of go on with what sort of gets people into the schools. And one of the big things I had in the slide was students, especially young people, don't care how much you know until they know how much you care.
Oh, that's good.
And that's one of the biggest things.
Good shout.
If I'm going in there,
love that.
They've got to know that I care first, rather than just getting someone that's just going up there and talking. They don't like that. They can't relate to that. Where actually, if they can see I genuinely care, that's how I make such an impact. And I was there talking with all these people, again, quite high up, explaining how I make this impact with them. And you can see a lot of these adults were there, and I was making an impact on them. And I said to them, I'm going to take you through the workshop I talk to the young people with. This exact same workshop. It impacts them, it's going to impact you. Yeah. And it does. I'm like, now you see why.
Dude, I love that slide. Yeah, where'd you get that one from?
You know what? I've got notes. I wrote it out. I said to Kate, I said, I'm just going to whack this slide in, and it just came out. It's not my saying. I've heard it before, but I've not heard of it for years. But I was thinking, well, how to make... Because that's the thing. I basically had to go in there and explain how I'm making such an impact. Mm-hmm. So I had to sit down and think, well, how am I making such an impact? I never went in there intending to make an impact.
It's obviously, a good self-reflection, isn't it?
Exactly, but the feedback I'm getting from the kids is ridiculous. I get bombarded. Every school I go into, I get 5, 6, 7 students message me. That's a lot. Yeah. And it's not just like, oh, thanks for coming in. It's like, you've changed my life, you've changed my mindset. And then when I give the feedback to them, they're like, you need to tell other people how you're doing this. So I have to sit and think about it. And I'm like, well, how do I go in there and make such an impact? Yeah. I'm very conscious about what I wear. So, for example, the funny part when I went to the recruitment was I was 5 minutes early, but I thought I was going to be late. And I was laughing with the lady saying, sorry if I'm a bit out of breath. I had to run back to my car because I had to change my shirt.
Okay.
Because when I was with the students, I was in a hoodie.
Yeah.
And she's like, well, why didn't you wear that here? And I went, because for me, it's different energies.
Yeah. And perceptions.
I want to wear a shirt.
Definitely.
So because it makes me feel like I'm talking to adults, I'm in a different headspace. With the students, I'm there, I'm trying to talk on their level a bit.
Yeah.
So for me, it's like, well, actually, the only reason why
diffuses the situation for them, doesn't it? Here's another guy in a tie and a shirt. Exactly.
It's
serious.
Can't buy anything. Actually, I'm just here. I'm just a normal person. Like, I've got my Air Force Ones on. It's chill.
Yeah.
And the reason why I'm able to make an impact is because they can see that I genuinely care, and I want to help. And when I say to them, you can ask me any question, and then they ask me these questions, and then I answer them honestly, they're like, oh, this guy's actually real. Whereas actually when you get people, as you said, they're coming and reading off a script, or they don't really care, they're just doing it for a paycheck.
Yeah.
Like,
which the money is good in that sort of world, if you want it to be, isn't it?
Exactly, if you want it to be, but it's like, what's your main goal and purpose for going in there?
Yeah,
and mine
why?
Isn't the money. My purpose isn't the money, it's to actually help the kids.
Yeah.
Because that for me is more fulfilling, because it's like, that you don't know how many, my goal is in 15 years time, I get a message off someone, and it's like, your talk's changed my life.
Yeah.
I was failing at school, and now this is my life. Like, that is just one student. I'm like, cool.
You've
that's
done
it,
your
that's it.
Your duty.
Done my job. That's it. Like, what the purpose is for this,
mate. I feel the exact same way. As we always say, and how we connected, be the person you needed when you were younger.
That's it.
It's the most true.
As soon as you say that to them as well, it's like, I'm here to try and save you 15 years of your life. They kind of sit up a bit and they're like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
Because some students early on, like, it's only a small classroom, about 6 kids. Yeah. As soon as they saw the speaker, they went off to the shop and they said they didn't want, it's like, I'm not bothered with this. Like, and then as soon as I started off the presentation, I'm like, this is not what you think it is.
Yeah.
Like you think this, it's not that.
Was it all lads out of interest?
Yeah, all lads. Yeah, this one's all lads.
My first ever pupil referral unit. It was the first school I ever went to, actually. So I was thrown in at the real deep end. And it was 4, but all lads. But I remember my moment was a lad. And I swear on you, I can't. I walked in and I've got a sweat on because I really don't know what I'm walking into. And I literally got there and I said, I'm the poet today. And he went, fuck off, mate. And then I just sort of laughed it off. Do you know that there's a Simpsons episode where Grandpa Simpson walks in and then he sees Bart at reception, he just walks out. I think he's in a burlesque place. I nearly did that. But in this moment, the lad, and I still speak to him to this day, and his name's Kanan, and he's probably 18, 19 now. So when I met him, he would have been 14 or so. He told me to fuck off. So then I said, oh, no, it's not what you think it'll be. And I started performing this poem, but it was about a dad that had gone down the wrong route, and then he'd gone to prison, and then he got a prisoner give him a poem. Mm-hmm. And then I looked at Kanan, and he went, that's not poetry. That's fucking sick. Mm-hmm. And then he started rummaging around in his bag, and he pulled out a piece of paper, and the teacher was like, what? He's never wrote a thing since he's been here. He'd been in that Peru for 2 years, never wrote, but he'd actually loved writing. He just never showed it her. Yeah. So he pulled it out and he wrote this piece of like grime, but it was all about like how his stepdad's beating his mum, drugs in the house, all these horrible things you can imagine. But I love this story and it gets me emotional because then we put a grime beat on and he performed it, and halfway through he did what I've done before, where you didn't realise how much emotion it can carry. So he just started crying. And then all the naughty boys, quote unquote, went round him and hugged him. And then I went, this is fucking poetry. And I remember saying that moment. And literally, this is where the story emanates from, is he ended up running a grime night in Nottingham. So that was the first introduction into a school. And that was I want to do this forever. That's why I want to work with kids, why I want young people. That was the one that set me on my trajectory because of Kanan. So
once you just reach one of them, like I said, that's it. Like
that was it.
You get one, it's like,
I've had my moment with that. I've had a couple of others and lovely moments, but it was literally my first ever school. Yeah. And I was like, oh my God, that's the power.
With the pre schools, and like I said, the quote unquote naughty kids, there's no such thing as naughty kids. They're just misunderstood. And a lot of them, they don't understand. So again, a lot of them say we're talking about anger.
Yep.
But again, couldn't understand why they were angry. So when you're breaking it down, they start to understand why they're angry. And again, it's just understanding they're not taught how to manage their emotions. And that's one of the fundamental key things as males, young males. They're not taught how to handle emotions. Yeah. So it goes default to anger. And that's then the problem. And then now they're naughty kids. Now they've got a problem with anger and rage. It's like, no, they don't. They've got a problem with managing their emotions. They don't know what that is. So it's then explaining to them, actually, you processing your emotions is actually really manly. And it's manly because it then actually allows you to know yourself better. Yeah. And it says, like, if you're trying to be alpha, by definition, you're not alpha. And again, that sunk in with them. They kind of like sat back a bit like, oh yeah, you're right. It's like, yeah. So when you're trying to be this thing, it's like, you're not that.
Because a lot of those kids that we were dealing with, they had to grow up very quickly, didn't they, in life? They've had to be quite switched on. So they are very streetwise. So when you do crack them open, it's sort of, they can listen and comprehend what you're saying. So did you have a few penny moments today?
Yeah, but that's the thing for me, like I say to a lot of them, and again, even when it's in the mainstream schools, these kids think that what they've been through disqualifies them from life, but it doesn't. It actually qualifies them.
I like that stuff
because what they've been through is more than most adults have been through. So they've seen a lot of stuff. Again, alcoholic parents, like again, parents being beaten up or whatever, like all this stuff that actually qualifies them because they are still there. They've got more resilience than most adults do. So they think that what they've gone through is something negative, and it is negative, don't get me wrong, but like they think it then disqualifies them from having a normal life and being amazing and being successful. I'm like, no, the fact you're actually still here today means you're successful. The fact you've overcome this, it's like you may still be struggling to process it, but actually when you come through the other side of this, that's actually going to qualify you to be, like we said, the person that you needed then. And I said, that is amazing. And then straight away you see their brain start to clog. I was like, yeah, I have been through a lot. Yeah. Like, yeah, you do. Like, that's amazing. Like, good job. Like, you are so strong.
Us going in though, isn't it, in that way, and others, because you need them to harness that, because they can go down the other path then. It's, I've been through way too much, I've been trampled on, and now what's the point? And I'm going to go down this path. But if you can say, no, you've had a head start now because you've been pushed down the path a lot faster, time to learn from it, time to start carving your path out differently now, they've got a big head start for that, haven't they?
And that's the thing. One of the kids today, so I did the whole thing about beliefs that I do, and I spoke about the future, and one said the future's fucked. And I was like, okay, why? And he says, because all the wars, all the stuff that's going on. Another student previously talked about inflation. Yeah. And I went, so he basically
switched on.
No, but he talked about inflation. He was worried about the future, and I says, what's inflation? He couldn't explain it to me. He tried to explain it to me. And I says, that's not inflation. I said, with the most respect, that's not inflation. I said, so you're worried about something that you don't understand. So
can you remember just what he said?
Something along the lines of, he mentioned, what was his words? Something to do with inflation. And he mentioned that inflation was, he kind of got it right.
Price is rising.
Yeah, he says you've got to pay more.
Yeah, okay.
So and I says, can you give me any more information than that? And he went, yes. So he went, no. And I said, right. So then explained what inflation actually was. So he technically was right. But he didn't understand why. Yeah. So he didn't say that because it wasn't, because that was basically it. But it wasn't that. But it was something where he'd kind of got it, but he got it muddled up. Yeah. Does that make sense? So he kind of had got it, but it wasn't it. And I was just like, you're worried about something that you've heard on the news or you've heard other people talk about. And I says, but you don't understand it, so you don't actually know what you're worried about. And again, he's just like, oh. I says, it's not going to affect you right now. I said, you're still in school. So I says, why is that? And then the other kid tagged on that, basically talk about wars and stuff. He said, my future's fucked. And I went, well, would you choose to see it that way? And he went, well, no. I says, so then why are you choosing to focus on all this negative? It says, like, you're in control of your life. Like, if you want your life to be fucked, it's going to be fucked. But actually, if you want your future to be bright, and I says, in the last recession, in like the darkest times, there's more millionaires made than any other time in history. So it says you've got two choices. It says you can worry about things that haven't affected you. So it says the war in Ukraine's not affected you. Yeah. I says you're hearing about it and it's a real thing and it's affecting people, but it's not affecting you right here, right now. Inflation is not affecting you right here, right now. So if you're worried about your future, it says the future's now. Like, this is all you can control. Yeah. And then again, it's just getting them to think, and they're like, oh yeah, you're right. And that's, they're worried about nothing really. And it's like stuff that adults would worry about. But even then, it's like, I say the same thing. Like, it's not happened. Yeah. You're worried about things that haven't happened yet. And then again, as soon as they clicked onto it, like, yeah, well, actually, what am I worried about? Like, I actually do have a choice. And that's what's all about, empowering them to realize they have a choice. So just because they think their future's fucked, it's like, no, it's not. It genuinely isn't. Like, if you think it is going to be, then it will be. And I said to her, if you leave this room right now and you make a decision that your future's fucked, I promise you that you're right. And it will be. Yeah. I said, guaranteed. Because I also promise you that if you leave this room and you make a decision right now that it's not going to be fucked and you're going to have a great future, I also promise you that's also going to be true. It's
like we were saying before, don't drive into the barriers. Don't drive into the barriers. Oh, what happens? I drove into the barriers because that's all I was focused on, not the road ahead. Yeah.
And as soon as I completely agree. Dropped, he was like, and you can just see that again, it's just questioning some of these beliefs that got
there's concern, and I think that's a massive difference to anxiety and fear. Worry and fear. Like, when we had recently the alarms go off on our phones and so on, and you switch the news on every so often, that concern does it. I'm not protected from it. It always seeps in somewhere or another. But you're absolutely right. How much do I want to turn the TV? How much do I want to scroll through my phone? Where do I really want to put my energy? And you don't have to be oblivious to it all. You don't have to just completely negate all of the truths. Like, you can switch in here and there, but it's how much you're going to turn the tap on.
Yeah, that's it. That's what I mean. I understand what's going on in the world. Yeah. I'm not oblivious to it. It's like, because
that is my one concern. I'm like, am I just really going to be too naive to the point I don't know anything that's happening? But then I had a moment of, why does that matter? Even if like something terrible was coming over, there's nothing we can do then.
So again, all this stuff, it's a lot of stuff we can't control. So I don't watch this. I read the news, but again, I take it with a pinch of salt. I don't get emotionally invested in it. I can see what it is, because what they're doing is they're trying to pump fear into us. Yeah. So I just read what's the core essence of what's going on. Yeah. I don't read any details. I don't look at the craziest. What's the core essence of what's going on? Oh, something's happening in Sudan. Okay, cool. Understand that. Cool. Something's going on in Ukraine. Cool. Tick. Very right. Inflation. Okay, tick. So I understand what's going on. That's where I leave it, because it doesn't concern me. And if it needs to concern me, it'll find me.
And maybe some independent journalism here and there.
Because that's the thing. It's for me, it's like, yes, this stuff's real. It's not being ignorant to it, but like, what can you actually control? Yeah. What is knowing this information going to help you? Is it going to help you? Is it going to hinder you? It's going to hinder you. Yeah. Knowing this information isn't going to help you. All it's going to give you is more stuff to talk to your friends about. Which then, what does that do? perpetuates the problem, perpetuates the worry. So all you're focused on is this worry and negative.
Yeah.
But again, you talking to your friends, what's it actually going to do? Nothing.
And going back to the ages we're working with, imagine they just spend the whole time focusing on it and then realise, oh, there's no point to any of this anyway, because that's the world we're going into. And then
that was my worry.
They get to 25, 30 and nothing's happened. And they're like, well, you just wasted a lot of time.
That was my exact worry. I thought, God, you're worrying about that at this age.
Yeah.
I was thinking, wow, like adults are worrying about this, but actually for you guys, that's my exact point. They're going to think, what's the point? Well, if we're going to get nukes and stuff, what's the point? And so they're not going to do nothing. And then when I went to the recruitment company, I turned around and talked about the state of some of the schools. I said, you guys need to be worried about this because this is your workforce in 20 years' time.
Yeah.
These are the same people. It says like
nihilistic,
exactly, and it's
terrified.
Like terrified is the word I used. A lot of them are so scared, and as adults we're scared. We're not taught to deal with it, and why are we not taught to deal with it? Because we're not taught to deal with our emotions. And again, it also goes back to me: control what you can control.
Yeah.
Now, again, it's not always going to be that way. Sometimes your emotions get the better of you, but as quickly as you can, get back into what can you actually control.
I'm with you.
That's
I
it.
Really am.
There's nothing. It sounds really. People think, oh, it's not that easy. I promise you, it is. I can categorically promise you, it is that easy. Does this directly affect me? No.
Yeah, because you have to choose to think. I know thoughts do just come in and out, but you have to choose which ones you're going to.
You can accept and reject it. You can accept and reject any thought.
Yeah.
You can say anything to me, but it's my choice whether I accept or reject what you're saying.
Yeah.
You have a choice. You can kick that thought out, but we don't actually realize we sit there and we ruminate on it.
So something that's helped you in your path and life, meditation, one of those that's helped you learn to accept and reject and see the thoughts pass and realize they're not attached to you. Is that one big thing for you?
Yeah, so I've got a tattoo in my arm as well. I just can't see it because I'm on a jumper, but yeah, that's the thing for me. Just actually noticing the thoughts.
Yeah,
because at the minute we're so caught up in our own thoughts, we can't differentiate.
They're part of our identity.
Part of it, So you got yourself and your thoughts, and they're so muddled up. You don't know what's actually you and your higher self, and what's thoughts. Yeah. You think your thoughts are you when they're not. Your thoughts are not you. You can have thoughts, and your thoughts can be really dark and negative, but that's not you. It's just a thought. Random thoughts can pop up, and we think, "Wow, that was dark. That was a horrible thought. I'm just a horrible person." No, thoughts just pop up. They're like, you can't control them. It's just electrical impulses. It pops up, or it gets downloaded, however you want to see it.
Yeah,
it just happens. But then when you look at it and accept and reject and realize, wow, that was just a thought. So the way that the analogy I use with this is like, you're the sky. So you are the sky, and your thoughts are just like the clouds. And no matter how stormy it gets and how dark it gets, sometimes you can't see the sky. But the sky is always there.
Yeah.
So no matter how bad your thoughts get, you as the higher version of you, that best version of yourself, you're still there. And eventually the clouds will dissipate, and actually you can realize that they are just clouds. And for me, the art of meditation is you just rise above the clouds and you just see them for what they are, just clouds.
That's lovely.
You're sat there observing from your higher self, the best version of you, whatever you call it. Like, people got loads of different words for it, but you're just sat there observing your thoughts. And that for me is the art of meditation. You can observe the thoughts and you start to question them and just see that when you sit there in silence, thoughts will just come.
Yeah.
And random stupid thoughts will pop up and you'll be like, oh wow, this is literally just a random thought that's popped up out of nowhere and it doesn't really mean anything. No, it doesn't. We attach the meaning to it. So if you can just sit there in that stillness, honestly, it's so freeing, because then you then take that out of that situation into real life and you start to catch yourself with your thoughts. You can then do the same thing, start to question it, because that's what we don't do. We don't question our thoughts. We take our thoughts for gospel, and then we get emotionally attached to them, and then before you know it, we're sat there for 4 hours fixating on this negative thing that hasn't even happened yet.
Create a whole identity out of it.
Exactly.
And a whole reality.
Exactly. That's a whole reality, and nothing's happened. And this is what I say to all my clients. What's actually happened? Just think about what has actually happened in this situation. Not the story.
Well, you've
actually
killed somebody in your head.
Exactly. What has happened? Yeah, but this. Yeah, but what did they actually do?
Yeah,
but no. What actually happened? Yeah, but no. Actually happened. And then they realise nothing. They've just created a story and a construct.
And that's one
got worked up.
Of past or of future. When I see him, I'm going to say this, and then I'm going to do this. And if he comes at me, I'm going to hit him with this. And it's,
it's all that nothing.
All that emotion and unnecessary energy has just been given and seeped into you, and the cortisol and all them levels, just because you've allowed yourself to go on that ridiculous path.
Or it's just like if I say to you, like, let's say you're walking out, let's say you come in, and we've laughed and joke about your shoes before. Let's say you come in, and I'm just like, Mike's going to come in.
Were you joking about my shoes?
no, we can step in mud in. Obviously, you've got your nice new shoes with the mud. So let's say when you come in, it's like, oh, so it's Thursday, so Mike's going to come in, he's going to step mud in the house. And then I sit there getting, and you haven't even stepped in, you're not even here yet.
Yeah.
But then for 10 minutes, I'm going, oh, I'm going to have to mop the floor. Nothing has happened. Nothing's happened. You're not even here yet. Because again, we've always spoken about the chance that you're not going to do it. You're aware of the situation now, but in my head, I'm like, what if?
And it's
what if what?
And
like,
also,
it's creating situations in your head.
Because if it's a valid thing as well, and you didn't want that to constantly keep happening and perpetuating, it's just that conversation. You've had it already. You say, oh, Mikey, when you do come in, just make sure, and then you completely eradicated all that inner dialogue you've had to go through just because you had that, set that boundary and put that conversation out. And that's what people don't do.
And they don't, and then they blame the other person.
Yeah.
So I can't blame you if I've not had that conversation. So I've not told you. That's a me problem, not a you problem.
Yeah.
You've done nothing wrong. You have no idea that that's a problem. No idea. And I'm completely making things up here. It doesn't. But let's say your hat offends me. I don't like that colour green. And I'm just like, fucking, I might wear that fucking hat again.
I wore that on purpose.
But it's like, but if I don't say to you, Mikey, listen, that's kind of bothering me a little bit. Like, is there any chance you can maybe not wear it or not on a podcast? Whatever it is.
Yeah.
Cool. But if I don't say that, I can't then, it's up to me to communicate that this is an issue. And then we have a conversation, we come to a compromise. I can't just get mad at you. You don't even know you've done anything wrong. You're just sat there being you, not doing anything. And I'm getting pissed off about your hat. And you've got no idea. So until you bring it to someone's attention, this is what we don't never do. Like I said, we create these stories, we get worked up and fixated. Have you actually expressed how this is making you feel? Because if the answer is no, that's a you problem, not a them problem, because they don't know they've done anything wrong. It's only when you've explained it to them, you've expressed your boundaries and you defended them, and they keep then abusing that, that's then where you can sort of have a bit of an issue with it. But until that moment, they don't know they've done anything wrong. They're just living their life, and you've created this story and this narrative, and you've ran with it, and you're getting pissed off, and they've not done anything. They don't know. You've not given them a chance to defend themselves.
Mate, completely agree. But we've been rambling now. Do you want to start some pod decks?
Let's go. Let's get back on the pod decks. Rambling away. We've always got to keep ourselves back in check because we know what we like.
Did you see on the last podcast that I did for you? I called it The Rambles.
Yes, I saw that. Yeah. I need to go edit that title. Just upload it as The Rambles.
Don't edit.
No, just leave it Rambles.
Right, you ready?
Yeah, let's go.
Okay, come on, Mr. Pod Deck. Oh, okay. Interesting. Right.
I feel the pressure now.
What is the oddest job you've ever took to earn a book? I like the rhyme there.
Yeah. Oddest thing I've ever done. I've not really done many odd things. But when I lived in America, I was a maintenance man.
Maintenance?
Yeah, maintenance. Like essentially a caretaker. So when I lived in America, I couldn't get many proper jobs because of the visa that I was on. So I literally was a maintenance man, like cleaning stairwells and mopping the floors.
I
and
can picture you doing that.
Yeah, that's literally...
From that question, though, it did make me reflect back to when I did loads of odd jobs, and I've done some really odd ones when travelling. But with your mental health, in terms of doing jobs that don't really provide any meaning or value or passion in there for you, did that eat away and chip at your mental health, or can you actually just slug away a little bit and donkey work in essence?
So for me, again, when I was in America, I didn't realize how bad my mental health was, but I look back at it now, I was so miserable doing it. And again, I think that's the thing, because there's no purpose. But again, I didn't understand any of this stuff at the time. I just knew that I wasn't happy and fulfilled. And for me, I think the biggest thing was that I was worried what other people would think of me. Like, there's me like there in America, this English kid, and it's like, oh, but actually I'm just a cleaner. Yeah. Because there's nothing wrong with that. But again, as a young person, completely ignorant, like I generally thought that people would judge me and think less of me for it. Yeah. So I think that was a big thing for me, when actually it's got nothing to do with that at all. Like when I go somewhere, I make a point to, again, talk to cleaners and do all that sort of stuff. I think it's important that you recognise people of all levels, like, and not think you're better than anybody. Like for me, it's like some of the best people I know are cleaners. Like they're absolutely awesome. But at the time, I didn't know that. But when it comes to like mundane jobs, like I think about when I've worked at companies, for example, and the whole ethics behind the company was so bad, and there's such an underlying toxic culture there that it drains you, because you then get caught up in it. And then because you got like the group think. So if you're working in this environment and there's, again, 100 people there, wherever it is, or even less, let's say there's 20 people, so even they're small, but 15 of those 20 people are super negative and their values aren't aligned with yours, that's going to grate on you unless you're very strong and aware of your values. And that's the difference. I wasn't aware at these times, so it then took over me a little bit. Does that make sense? Because
the job that you do and working with your clients, you must have quite a lot that come to you and say, I just hate my job, I really don't like it. Do you get that a lot? I mean, that's presumptuous, but I'm in a world surrounded by people that don't like their jobs in my township. And when I go to see my friends and have conversations, it often stems around, oh mate, I hate what I do. I wished I could do something like you, where you're enjoying yourself or doing your passion. And it took a long time to get there. But is that a conversation you've had?
So I don't give advice to people on their job's their job at the end there, but I'll say to them, I'll get them to questions. So why do you hate it? What is it about your job? So I had one person who wanted to quit their career, And then having a bit of conversation with them, they didn't. They were just having a really bad time mentally. So they were having a bad time mentally, and they were taking it into work, and then they were associated, I need to change my job. But the job wasn't the problem, they were the problem. And again, a lot of people do that. They'll go from job to job. That they start off and it's all great and amazing, and actually when they go back to being themselves, they then hate it. They're the problem. So that's one instance where it's happened. I've had another person recently where they're like, I want to change my career. So let's have a conversation about it. And I said, I've always wanted to go into the fire brigade. And obviously, again, about the same sort of age as me, like in the 30s. I said, what's stopping you then? I said, have you even researched it? And they went, no. I said, okay, so just go and research it. Worst case scenario, you go and research it, and it turns out they wear glasses. Okay, maybe you can't go in there because your eyesight's not perfect. Because I don't know. I haven't got a clue. I was like, at the minute you don't know. And it's like, imagine you get to 50, 60, 70, wishing, I wish I'd tried to do that.
Yeah.
But at least now you try. You go there, maybe do the test, and you don't like it. You hate it. You hate it. Once you actually find out what the job entails, you hate it. You don't want to do it. But the minute you said you've wanted to do it for years, you've done nothing about it. Let's go find out. Just inquire. What's that got to, there's no harm in inquiring. But for me, it fundamentally goes back to like why. Like, why do you hate your job? What is it? Like, because normally what happens is we're feeling a bit uneasy with ourselves. We take that into work. We're then not enjoying our job. We're not getting any fulfillment out of the job. But that's then down to you. Why aren't you getting fulfillment out of your job? Like, if it's suddenly gone downhill. Now, if you've hated your job since day one, that's a different story. But if you used to enjoy it, what's changed? And normally it's your attitude, your thoughts, your feelings, and your actions. Like, they're not now in alignment, which is why you're feeling a bit uneasy. So they're asking yourself, what's changed? Because normally it's you.
Because there's so many things there, and it's really layered what we spoke about, and everything is situational. Every person's completely uniquely different. Do you feel you could go into a job that provides sort of not much passion, not much worth in it? Could you, with the mental health state that you've got now, find happiness within it and just go and do your best with whatever position you've got?
Again, situational. So if I needed to, so if I had to, yeah. But out of choice, no. So it goes back to Viktor Frankl at Auschwitz. So again, The Man's Search for Meaning, the book. So if you look at that, and again, having visited Auschwitz, like the most awful place, the most amazing / awful place I've ever visited in my entire life. You then look about it, again, the search for meaning. So they were finding meaning in the mundane and doing all that stuff, and that's what was keeping them alive. So in that situation, you've got no choice. He had no choice. Like, some of the jobs they had to do, awful, grim, horrific. But if he didn't then get excited about these things and get himself worked up however he did it, what was the alternative?
Yeah.
So if I had no choice, like I needed to, I had no money, I lost absolutely everything. I needed to go and work one of these. I would find a way to do it. Again, I'd internally have a conversation with myself. I'd remind myself of the reason why I'm doing this, etc., etc. And again, look at the bigger, try and find the happiness in all of it. But I'm not going to lie. If I had to go and do something right and I didn't want to do it, then no.
Yeah.
Like, I couldn't do it. Like, and that's the thing for me. It's like I now got to the stage where I don't want to put myself in those situations because it would mentally drain me so much. But if I had no choice, and the choice was you either do it or you basically become nothing, I'm going to do it. Yeah. But I don't have that choice, thankfully.
That was one of the biggest discoveries for me on realising how unique and different everyone was my other best friend. Not as good a best friend as you, mate. He's my second best friend. I hope you hear that. But he really could just plough away at a job and not really need meaning and passion spark within it. And he genuinely was content. He was peaceful and just enjoyed it. And I could not comprehend it. I couldn't compute it because I was like, this is just burning me every day, though. I need to feel satisfied when I leave. And he didn't. And that was where I sort of really understood, oh, people are just different. And that's cool. And I kind of judged him for that before. And that stopped me judging. I was like, oh, just really know what you are about, who you are, what you need to find that fulfillment, and go and do that. And it changed my direction, but I let him on his path completely and believed in his just contentment.
Yeah, but again, there's nothing wrong with that. Like, some people love those kind of jobs, and the thing for me as well is like, what brings you contentment doesn't bring someone else contentment. So for him to actually just have a job and be doing something, is keep him busy, he may absolutely love that.
Love
when
the friendships
absolutely,
within
like people that just like paint. Yeah. Like literally like paint and decorate.
Yeah.
Can't think of anything worse. Like, I hate painting and decorating, but people love it. Again, coming to clean, I can't think of anything worse than cleaning. Cannot stand it. But people love it because they're really present, they get to move, they're active. It's just how you look at it.
Yeah.
And I don't look at it in the same way. I don't get enjoyment and fulfillment out of it. But if they do, amazing. That's the thing, and that's why, again, we are all different.
Yeah.
That's the thing for me. Like, if I had to go back and do something that I didn't want to do, like, again, going back to being a maintenance man, cool, I could do it. I could do it now with my mindset. and I could be present, because again, understanding, I'd have to really practice being in the moment, all that sort of stuff. But deep down, I wouldn't be getting the fulfillment that I know I need.
That thing you're doing
but I wouldn't get the deep down fulfillment and of what I need. But I could make it work. I could do it. I just wouldn't be fully happy.
Now, there was two for me really interesting things in that, and I always find jobs it's where people spend most of the day. Absolutely. Really. So they need to have an enjoyment within it,
whatever that is for them.
Whatever that is for them. And there's two things there, like not labeling it, I'm just a cleaner, I'm just a this, and respecting, if you enjoy that, own it, enjoy it and be it, but also having that reflectiveness of, is this me? Is this my calling and passion? And there's two things there that are completely different avenues and different things to think about, but could whoever's listening to this find something within it? I think that's really good.
Calling and passions again, like, and it's the thing, and this is sometimes where you get those people who are on this journey where they're kind of forcing people to have this journey and passion. Some people aren't interested, and that's okay for them. That's absolutely okay. Like for them, their whole thing might be just going home after they've earned a decent, an honest book, like you say, and providing. Yeah, and that's them, and their whole fulfillment and purpose actually isn't got anything to do with work. Work is just a means to an end for them to get some money. Actually, is at home, their home life, whether actually a good father or a good mother, doing whatever it is, or a good partner. That for them, or actually they go and give back and do charity work, whatever it is. Like that, or it could be even religion for them, whatever it is. Like that's their thing. Work is just a means to an end because you've got to have some money to actually pay the bills, and they don't need any more than that. So I think that's also sometimes to look at it and just be like, just because what we're thinking, you've got to have a passion, and it's like purpose, and it's like. Some people don't want that out of work. That's not it. But for me, it kind of is. Like I feel, for me, I now know what my purpose is, and it's again, and what I'm good at, and one of my skills is communication. Like actually getting up and speaking in front of people. Like again, podcasting is something I think I'm good at. But I'm able to communicate and get passion and energy across to people. Yeah. So cool. I'm now going to leverage that because I now figured that out. It's taken me a long time to figure it out, but. You don't have to try. I think now people try and force. You hear people, what's your purpose? You've got to find your purpose. You've got to find your purpose. I'm like. Yeah. What, you don't have to find anything. If you're happy and genuinely content, even if to us it looks like, but you're struggling, who are we to say that people are struggling? And, do you know what I mean? If they're genuinely happy and content and they go home and they're living their life and they want to be ignorant to any sort of spiritual and if that is your business. That is who are we to wake people up that are very happy, supposedly sleeping? But really, who's to say that we're the ones that aren't?
I definitely don't judge at all.
But that's the thing. It's easy to do, isn't it? Like, and that's you can try. Like, why aren't you waking up? Like, can you not see what's? And like, but I just want to crack on my life. I'm happy and content. Cool,
mate. 100%. Another one.
Let's go another one.
I enjoyed that. I think it's an important conversation to have, and probably one we've not ever.
Never spoke about jobs. And again, these questions are kind of taking us down a path that we probably wouldn't have gone down.
Mate, let's go for it. That one came out first, so that's the one we're having. Okay. Oh, this will be interesting. If you could bankrupt one person or company, who would it be? It'd be a bit mean if you bankrupted a person, but that's fine. Or company. Your political truth comes out
I was going to say politics. There's a big. It's hard, like I said, like I said, the podcast isn't about politics. I'm trying not to go down the political route because, like I said, I think that there's a whole thing to be said about that. But I think there's something to be said about mainstream media and social media. Yeah. And I think there is something there. They need to kind of be defunded and reset up again. I think they've got, for example, Facebook, and again, that now owns Instagram and all these other things. They got so powerful so quickly that they weren't properly regulated. Yeah. And I think that's a big thing. It's a big problem. They've got so much money and power and influence that they've been able to get away with a lot for so long. And if we now look at the impact that social media is having on people, it's kind of very unregulated and past the point of no return. And for me, I don't see there being a problem with social media. But if you've ever seen the movie Ready Player One, the basic premise for people that haven't seen the movie is it's basically the metaverse. It's a Steven Spielberg movie, but it's all to do with computer games. It's one of my favourite movies. It's incredible. Go and watch it. It's brilliant. The premise of it is that basically this guy's created a virtual thing like the metaverse where basically you create an avatar and you live your life, and what's actually happened is this company has now got it and they're basically enslaving people. So basically if you owe money in the game, you owe money in real life,
which
so
is kind of the direction
exactly and basically the whole premise of this movie and the reason why I like it is that at the end of it, like good always wins, blah blah blah, and then they agree that this thing's actually really healthy when it's done properly.
Yeah.
But there is like a cut-off, and one day a week it gets shut off, and no one can use it and no one can access it. So actually, you've got to be present and live in the real world, because that's what people weren't doing. They were all living on this game and spending all their real money on this game, and they were living in absolute poverty. But in the game, they were like millionaires.
Yeah.
But it's like, actually, then when these people take over at the end, they basically say, no, actually, once a week, it gets completely shut off and you've got to go into the real world. So for me, when it comes to social media, for me, there should be something like that. Like, it's got too powerful. So if I could bankrupt anyone or anything, it would be the social media companies and the media things. Yeah. Like, again, the
restart news. Reboot it with the knowledge that we've got now.
Yeah. And again, same
with that mind frame.
And same with the news as well, because they're not saying the news anymore. It's not like in the 50s and 60s where they actually reported the news. They're reporting opinions. Because
a lot of the rules and regulations within social media are quite subjective from the people that own it and are a part of it.
Yep.
And then whatever way they lean politically is going to set up that system.
Yep.
So I would love to restart that and just be as neutral as possible, because it's for all the masses and everybody. And I suppose the algorithms now have hit a certain facing political system.
Yep. And that's the thing, is algorithms, all this sort of stuff, there's got to be an easier, better way of doing it.
Yeah.
Where because again, there's such good in it.
It's an incomprehensible sheer amount of people that I don't think the creators knew what they were getting in for.
Agreed.
So it's not necessarily all their fault in a way.
But it is their responsibility.
It's their responsibility. But I think it was...
And when they're now targeting stuff towards kids,
yeah,
that's then the issue. Like, you look at TikTok stuff, it's aimed towards young kids.
Yeah.
And it's like, so I was talking with these top directors earlier on today.
I think TikTok's a different world.
It's a different world, but but again, it's still based off. That couldn't have happened if Facebook and Instagram hadn't been so popular.
Yeah.
If that hadn't been so popular, then this wouldn't have been created. So again, I'm using social media as a whole. So I'm not just saying the meta or whatever it is. Like, I'm not just saying Facebook and Instagram. I'm talking about the whole social media construct. It needs to kind of go and be, if you could bankrupt it, that'll be it. Just get rid of it.
Yeah.
Because it's like now the whole thing is, again, it's to do with making money and keeping eyes on the screen and advertising. But you look at some of the kids nowadays, and again, I was talking to these directors earlier on, basically saying that, again, there's 4 of us there, again, successful people, talking about how sometimes we even struggle with screen time. And if you're feeling a certain way, if you're kind of a bit negative in your own head, you go on social media, and what happens is you then validate how negative you're feeling.
Yeah.
And that's us. I'm like, but now imagine these kids that have grown up. So we grew up without social media, and it's now integrated into our life. Imagine these kids, that's all they've known.
And they're unconscious.
That's completely unconscious. Yeah. And the people behind it know exactly what they're doing to actually get into their brains.
As well as Ready Player One, what about, is it the social dilemma?
Yeah, again. Yeah, exactly.
If the creators aren't letting their kids use it, you know there's something wrong about that whole system.
Don't get high on your own supply.
Yeah.
Like drug dealers. They don't touch the drugs.
So going into schools, working with young people and the clients that you work with, do you have boundaries that you put across to them to talk about social media and how you believe it to be?
So when I go into schools and talk to kids, I basically talk about how social media is a lie, because a lot of the kids don't realise it's a lie. So I basically say to them, like, I can post anything on social media right now, anything, and people could potentially believe it. So the example I use is a girl called Natalia Taylor, who's a supermodel.
Oh, yeah.
So basically, she went in Bali. So she posted this stuff on Instagram. And so I showed the post. There's 2 posts. It's got 30,000 likes, and it says Bali, Indonesia. And I'm like, right, so where's Bali? And they say, oh, yes, okay, in Indonesia, of course, really nice. Blah, blah. And then I'm like, okay, she's actually in IKEA.
Yeah.
So one of the photos has got the label.
Seen that photo.
Yeah. And then you swap it to the next thing, and basically the next thing is like how she did it deliberately to basically tell people not to believe what they see on social media.
Experiment.
Exactly. And then again, I was talking to the directors earlier on. They knew someone that basically would buy all these designer clothes, like you're talking about thousands of pounds, try it all on, get photos and all of it, and then send it all back.
It's hilarious.
But that's the length people go to. The whole thing is just a lie. So it's asking and questioning what's actually been put in front of us, and just asking yourself, like, what is your purpose for being on social media? Because again, the word social media, social, there's nothing social about us sat there scrolling by ourselves. That's as far away from social as possible. Now, if it's to connect with people like Facebook used to be, that was really cool.
And
Facebook
can be.
Exactly. Facebook, and again, even like MySpace back in the day, that was social. You were actually connecting with people on a social level. Nowadays, it's not social. We're sat there and we're just addicted to scrolling. Exactly. You're just sat there scrolling, trying to get this dopamine hit.
Yeah.
And just constantly, it's like a drug. We're trying to get more and more and more. So basically, just warn the kids. It's like, if you're going to be scrolling, at least try and make it positive. Clear out your feed. Get rid of any sort of negativity. Yeah. So just look at positive things.
Muting and stuff before, and that really helps. Yeah. I had a big purge the other day, and it was really good for me.
I mute, and I also unfollow people.
Yeah.
So people posting negativity,
and
unfollow.
People I like. In honesty, it's people I really do think are good people, but I just can't see what they're putting all the time because it doesn't bring me any joy.
Yep.
It's always materialism and showboating and so on. And I just go, you're great. I could talk to you in person. I can't see any of what you're putting on.
But then what you're doing is if you are scrolling, at least it's something positive. So for me, I either want to be entertained and laugh, so I've got quite a few comedy accounts on there,
same.
or I want to be educated and informed. So if I'm there scrolling, at least I'm there and I'm actually learning something, or it's making me think, or I'm laughing. Yeah. So at least it's adding to my life rather than comparison.
You create your own algorithm than just being force fed an algorithm.
And that's exactly it. Yeah. And again, I noticed some of the sponsorships that pop up every now and again. And again, I'm always questioning like why have I had these sponsored things pop up? So again, just because again,
that was a bit of a social experiment a comedian did, and everyone was talking about this algorithm as a really terrible, bad thing. But all he did for a month was look up puppies, and that's all he was being shown. So he said, well, I created this algorithm and I was being advertised puppies and nice things all the time. But that's I created that. Mm-hmm. So it's Ari Shafir, actually. It was a good podcast he did on that. But it's very true. When you're seeing destruction and death and carnage and material and all that, just have a conscious think about who are you following
and what are you liking.
Yeah,
that's what it is. And what adverts are you looking at? What products are you looking at? Because that's all it does. If you go onto Amazon and look at something or search something in, notice how it would then link onto your. So you'd be like, I want to look at hot tubs. So you just type in hot tubs on Google or wherever it is, and then you go on Instagram, and then you'll see a hot tub advertisement. So just being aware if you're seeing these negative advertisements or something like that, or it's something really bizarre, just ask yourself about what I'm actually liking, because sometimes we're not conscious of what we're liking and what we're tapping on.
It does make me a little bit nervous when I say something to somebody and then I look on my phone and it's got it in front of me. I'm like, oh, what's it listening to there? That's a bit weird.
But that's the thing, I think. This is the worrying thing again when it comes to the media platforms and stuff. There's no transparency. Yeah. Meaning they'll say, well, you agree to the terms and conditions. The terms and conditions are like 85 pages in small print. So for me, there needs to be more transparency there. Like you need to kind of really highlight what this is, what you're actually saying, because you're not doing that. So yes, I may have agreed by clicking on it that I agree to you listening to my voice and tracking everything I say, but you didn't really give me that much of a choice because I was never going to read 81 pages of really small print stuff. So yes, I have technically agreed to it, but I haven't really. So it's just like, is that really consensual? And the answer is no. So do you mean that's where you got to look at it like that? And people's like, but I'm just like, for me, there needs to be like a cut-off point somewhere between like what they can and can't do. So for me, they've got way beyond their sort of power. And again, when it comes to the whole AI conversation, it's the same thing as well. Like that's got the potential to be super, super destructive. It can be used for the positive. It can be super, super destructive. But the minute there's no rules and regulations on it. So I'm like, I see the positive in it, but there's a lot of people out there that are evil people. So for me, when I say good and evil, for me, evil's just got really negative thought patterns. That's all it is. Like it's just a pattern of thought. And again, it's very self-indulgent. They look after themselves and don't care about other people and trying to make money. And for me, that's then dangerous for us moving forward of, well, where's that going to end up?
If you can bring self-awareness to it and plug out, you take away their power.
That's all it is. Bring self-awareness. When you're scrolling, when you're doing any of that sort of stuff, just take yourself out of it, take your emotion out of it. And again, make sure that if you sat there and you are scrolling, rather than beating yourself up, just ask yourself, what am I missing? In my life, what am I missing right now that I've needed to try and get a fix on this?
And my last piece of advice on this for myself, what I've implemented is the post and ghost.
That's right.
I put it up and I'm gone. And I really am that. And some people have had a bit of a go at me before because I've not got back to messages or I've not liked their stuff. I'm like, I'm really sorry, but this is what I need for my life, and I hope you're not going to judge me on that.
I think it's a great thing.
The cheeky old posting ghost.
Mate, we've smashed this out. 45 minutes we're going for now, mate.
Oh, do you, one more? Or?
Let's go one more. Go then. Let's go, mate. Let's go one more. Let's go one more. Let's go one more.
We'll
make it a quick one.
Okay, quicken. Here we go. Ready?
Yep.
Ooh, okay. Oh, interesting. If you could try out a job for a day just to see if you like it, which job would you choose?
Oh, mate.
Good question as well.
Do you know what? Really, really interesting. And it's bizarre you said this. I thought about this on the car drive to the school this morning. TV presenter.
Really?
Yeah.
And what premise? Why?
Again, it's only I quite think of something better, but obviously I've been put on the spot. It's only because I thought to myself, like, how would I be in front of TV cameras, like a live TV show, like a broadcasting stuff? Because I said my original thing that I wanted to do before I set a podcast up, I basically pitched this to Lots TV. Doing a podcast, basically saying like, just get me in, like an interview style thing, like do like some of the American chat show hosts.
Yeah, cool. Jimmy Kimmel or
I basically pitched them like that. Like, listen, get some really interesting people from Nottingham, and I basically interview them, and like a podcast.
keep it tailored to mental health, or would you go down any other path as well?
I think for me, like a mental health mindset, mindset, high performance stuff like that. That is what I want to talk about. But actually, very interesting. I thought to myself, like, where I'm going in my life. My thought pattern was, where I'm going in my life, at some point that's going to be an option. I was just like, well, how would I handle that? So the reason I'm saying, would I like that would be it, just to see actually if I like it or not.
I like that.
That's it. There's nothing else, because for me, it's like, what else would I really want to do?
For me, it would be a food critic. Definitely, I love food.
Oh, mate,
I'm so passionate about it. And if I could go to some Michelin star restaurants and just talk about food for the whole time of being there, that'd be me.
Do you know what you need to do? You need to start doing vlogs. You need to start going to some normal restaurants.
Yeah. And
vlogging about it afterwards. You got a camera.
Well, I semi do that, but just pictures.
Yeah.
I don't know, because I've got so many Instagram pages. Mate. I've got one called Food to Never Forget.
Mate, I had videos. I had a video.
Yeah, I'll add some videos of it.
I had videos. Maybe get yourself a YouTube channel. But
I must say, it is the real beauty, isn't it, of social media as well. Yeah. It's a beautiful timeline. And, technology now is great. Pretty much in that question, anybody can do any job they want to do. Yeah, you're not maybe getting paid for it, but it's just for you.
But isn't that interesting? You're not getting paid for it.
Because you could do that. You kind of are doing what you said.
Yeah, with TV, yeah. But it's the thing for me where it's... And that's what I'm saying. Like, I've created it myself. So it wasn't there. So I've created it myself.
Yeah.
And like I said, for me, I'd like to think there's no difference between this and... But again, it's like with the radio. So I'm used to talking in front of a microphone. The radio is very natural for me. The difference is it's live. So the only difference between this is that this is not live. But if it was, that's the only real difference between this and TV.
Yeah.
But it's just, again, the difference between millions of people seeing it versus thousands.
Yeah.
Like, that's the difference. But for me, it's like, you're right, like... And this is where it's interesting, when people want to have this job, but they expect to get paid for it straight away. So I remember when I was modelling, I did maybe 20 or 30 photo shoots for free.
Yeah.
And the reason I did them for free was to get myself better. I get myself comfortable in front of a camera, and it gave me portfolio pictures. So then when it came to the big boys, I actually had, well, here's all the photos, here's all the stuff I can do. Oh, wait, cool, we'll pay you to do this. Whereas people want things instantly, and they want to get paid for it now. So that's not how it works.
I don't know what it is, but there's something in the water nowadays of this sort of
entitlement,
self-entitlement, I was going to say, because I employ facilitators and people on, and you get some young people that are still in uni and they're asking for ridiculous rates. And I'm like, I grafted. I went and did free stuff all over the place, and you want £150 an hour already for do you know what I mean?
But now if they come back to you and say, well, actually, this is my results, this is what I can offer you, then, okay, cool. But if you can't prove, so why am I paying you this money?
Yeah.
Like, and this is what I say again when I talk to coaches and stuff when it comes to personal training. What am I paying you for?
Yeah. You need
Can you get me results? Can you actually get me results? Can you do what you say you can do? Because you're paying, I can come and do this. Okay, well, prove that you can do it.
Say somebody wanted to come and help with a film shoot, and I was like, what's your rate? And it was double mine.
Yeah.
I was like, but you see, again, you're still in uni. It's cool, and you're probably really good at what you do, but you can't showcase that. You had one film that you did, and it was something you did part of your assignment as a project. But I don't know what you like working in the real world with real people and how you have a conversation and what you're going to make us look like. Yeah. So it really does. I think it's such an undervalued trait and characteristic of graft and discipline.
Graft, you've got to learn it, learn your skills.
Yeah.
Because then actually, when you do come out, it's like, well, why are you charging so much money? Because that's what you say. When I was personal training, I wasn't the cheapest.
Yeah.
And people say, well, why are you charging so much money? Because I'll get you results.
Yeah.
Here's all my results. Do you want to speak to some of my past clients? Like, pick a client, I'll give you the details. Do you like that? I can back up what I'm saying. You pay me this, you pay me this, and this is the result you're going to get.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. And obviously, it takes time to do that, but you've got to have the confidence to do it as well. So I think, again, doing stuff for free, I think is really undervalued. Or doing it again at least a cheaper price. Like, you've got to cover cost of petrol and stuff, and if you genuinely need the money. But again, side hustles. Like, if you genuinely are trying to build it up, get a real honest job.
Yeah.
Because again, if I needed to, I would do that. If I had to start again, I would get a real honest job, work a 9 to 5, and then afterwards be doing stuff for free to build up a portfolio of whatever it is I needed to do. That's what I would do.
I tell you what, mate, when we do these episodes, there's a lot to choose from if you want to take anything away. I hope people do.
Yeah, well, I'm pretty sure they will do. Mikey, if people can find out more information about you, where they're going to go?
Rhythmical Mike at the Old Farm Bus.
And again, don't forget to give me a follow on Instagram, Daniel_James_coaching. And again, as always, if you take any value from today's episode, don't forget to like and share with a friend. I'll see you guys on Thursday for Thursday Thoughts.